Dan, let me know as soon as you're ready to go. Good? Okay. We're going to call to order the Narragansett Town Council regular meeting, October 18th, 2021 at 7:31 p.m. Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We will start with the disclosure of executive session votes from December 7th, 2020. Litigation in accordance with Rhode Island General Laws 42, 46, 5A2. Consensus by Councilors Pugh, Cicilline, Bonanno, Drzezinski, Kopech, and Murray to continue to December 10th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. Motion by Councilor Cicilline, Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Murray to seal the executive session minutes of December 7th, 2020, so unanimously voted. Motion by Councilor Murray, seconded by Councilor Cicilline, Bonanno to exit executive session at 12:59 a.m., so unanimously voted. And then December 10th, 2020, litigation in accordance with Rhode Island General Law 42, 46, 5A2, Riley versus Narragansett Pension Board. Consensus by Councilors Pugh, Cicilline, Bonanno, Drzezinski, Kopech, and Murray to support continuing the appeal. Bonanno versus Mannix. Consensus by Councilors Pugh, Drzezinski, Kopech, and Murray to not support continuing the appeal. Councilor Cicilline, Bonanno was absent. Motion by Councilor Kopech, seconded by Councilor Drzezinski to seal parts 1 and 2 of the executive session minutes of December 10th, 2020. So voted with 4 in favor, none opposed, and Councilor Cicilline, Bonanno absent. Motion by Councilor Drzezinski, seconded by Councilor Kopech to exit executive session at 9:56 p.m. So voted with 4 in favor, none opposed, and Councilor Cicilline, Bonanno absent. Okay, there's no other minutes to approve. So we will go right to open forum, public comment. Anyone who wishes to speak on any items not on the agenda, this would be the time. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. We'll start with Mr. Vengermesh. Please state your full name and address. It doesn't sound like the mic's on. Let's just get that fixed.
The red light. It's like you're a goaltender. Yeah, my name is Richard Vangermersh, and I'm an accountant. Spent a lot of years in accounting and still do. Still like it, which is surprising. I'm a member of the Narragansett Finance Committee. At our last meeting, which I think was a couple of weeks ago, we had a discussion of our response or our question to the town solicitor about, is it easy to change the effects of the referendum on the sale of property? Answer we got, no. I didn't think it would be. What we have done, unfortunately, and I'm going to resort to French, we have an accounting boo-boo that would be nice to fix if we could easily. Unfortunately, in the referendum, a generic term was used, property. Obviously, the best solution was to say the specific property, but when you say property, it includes both movable assets and immovable assets. The referendum was to stop a potential sale of an immovable asset. Unfortunately, we have used the generic term property in the property register. We have land and buildings, but we have a whole mess load of equipment, cars, Jeeps, and on we go. We can't not pass title on this, i.e. we cannot sell our used material, equipment. And this isn't good. We are jamming up things because we can't sell them. Now, the easiest solution would be say, well, okay, we really meant to say immovable property, or more specifically, the Belmont building, if you want to use that term. Unfortunately, we're in a mess now. Now, if you had a boo-boo, a little kid, you'd go, "Mwah, mwah," and the boo-boo would go away. This boo-boo isn't going away, unfortunately. Now, is there a solution? Can I get 12% of the voters to sign a petition to differentiate between movable and immovable property? Are you kidding me?
Thank you, Mr. Vengamesh. We're at our time.
Okay, how do we change this?
Thank you. Ms. Alberto in the back?
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. At the last meeting, you talked about hiring a camera person for $100 per meeting, and our sergeant-at-arms was only paid $50, and he's here the same amount of time. And given the length these meetings go, I don't even think he's getting minimum wage. And we do have a prevailing wage law in this state, and it applies to all contracts over $1,000, and his contract is over $1,000 in the end. So I think we have to probably up his stipend also to $100 per meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to, for a second, pass it over. Do you want to? Yeah, so we actually were, there's something related to that Ms. Kopech could speak about.
I actually proposed a motion. We weren't able to put it on
Okay.
before, but it should be on the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Dr. Alba?
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. Thank you all for your service. Town manager, thank you. Town solicitor. And of course, everyone else who's here, thank you all so much for volunteering your times and energies and your expertise. So I appreciate that. I saw a sign where the old cinema used to be. It says, about a casino might be upcoming, and I don't know. It says Narragansett Casino be here in the near future. So I don't know if how that came about. I don't know if we have to vote upon a casino. I don't know if that's a real, true casino that's going to be there. But I'd be a little concerned in regards to what they mean by upcoming casino. Narragansett Casino will be here in the near future. So I would think something like that would have to be voted upon and vetted, et cetera, in regards to if we are going to be having another casino, who's going to have rights to put the casino here, the Narragansett tribe, or whoever it might be. So I don't know if that might be discussed or addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Stanley?
Stan Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Neck Road. I want to give a sincere thank you to Michelle on the beach. Her financial analysis, I appreciated hearing her trying to make it more fiscally profitable, if you will. However, I just checked on takeout lobster roll. This is not a meal, a lobster roll with a drink, $30. $30 for a lobster roll, very small. I think when I had a little bit of it, there was only about 5 tablespoons. Therefore, I think a beach fee of $30, that's what it ought to be. We ought to have $30 for a beach fee. We need to increase it. That's because we need a $3 to $4 million surplus. We need a larger surplus. I attended a URI, a few talks at URI, and they predicted soon we're going to have a 1.5 foot rise in sea level. I can see that we're going to have to truck in a lot of sand, and we're going to probably have to support the front end of our buildings we're going to have some bills very closely. We're going to have bills out there in the millions. We've had it one time, and I don't want to see us go for a bond. We're going to go for a bond and pay the financiers and pay the interest. No. We know the water's going to get high. We know we're going to have expenses. We got to prepare. Therefore, we raise it so we can have the $3 to $4 million surplus to plan for it. That's number one. Number two, cabana list. List. To me, a list. It's not American way. We need to go to a bid system. You know, the list was something that what the Germans did in the 30s and 40s. This is America. America goes on bids. You perform on bids. I can suggest that maybe $10,000 per year, per summer, is a very reasonable bid for those fancy brand new cabanas. So we need to put out a bid system. That's fiscally responsible that way. Now, the beach is a business type operation and should put more, it's got to have more, we need more money there. Payment in lieu of taxes. We should get more payment in lieu of taxes to our taxpayers. This provides tax relief for our taxpayers. That's what we need. Let's be more financially responsible, charge a $30 fee so we can have more money given in the tax bank. So now maybe our taxes don't have to go up during these troubling times. We've got an asset, it's kind of a business. Let's utilize it as a business. $30 minimum to start. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. Anyone else? All right, does not look like it. Oh, Ms. Nadal?
Mary Nato, 10 Second Street. I just wanted to say we do have a $4 million surplus in the beach fund. And I think that we should have a lottery for the cabanas, and that if we have a price increase in the entrance fee, there should be a price increase appropriately for the cabanas and for the lockers, so that it's not just one group of people that are getting a 20% fee increase. I don't think we should go up this year for the entrance fees, but I do think the cabanas should go up based on that, and it shouldn't be a list, it should be a lottery on the people that are interested in going to the beach and using the cabanas. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Looks like that's it. So that'll conclude open forum. We will move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items on consent that...
Mr. President, could we possibly move up a motion from later on in the agenda, number 16? Just
Right,
after
yep,
the consent
yeah,
agenda?
after consent?
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
16. Okay, all right. All right, so for consent, any items on consent that any council members would like to remove?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. We will go right to number 16 under new business. This is a motion to direct the town manager to have the banner as provided by the Library Board of Trustees displayed on the town-owned Belmont building, to do so in the same location as previously placed, and to have this done no later than October 22nd, 2021. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Is there a second? All right. So this comes from myself and Councilor Cicilline Bonanno. Susan, I'll let you start if you want.
No, I know that the library board is working on doing some fundraising, and I think this is a great opportunity for the town and the residents to understand that we're having a fundraiser to offset the cost of the project, and I think it's a good visual, it's a reminder, and I just think it needs to be hung up so people know what's going on in the town.
All right, thank you. Discussion, any comments from the council?
Yeah, why is it signing? Because there's a zoning thing? Because the banner's too big? Is that what the issue is? Right?
The question was it a governmental sign? It's a governmental building, so the sign rules don't apply in governmental buildings, and that precedent's been set in that area already.
The what building? Government building?
Any government building sign, the sign rules don't specifically apply,
Right.
so that's what's happening here.
Oh, okay.
That question came up.
Right, so there was a
I
question
don't have a problem.
previously with the size of that banner,
Yeah.
and if it was in violation of a town ordinance. Because the town owns the Belmont building, it says in our charter that we can basically hang up any sign we want on our buildings. So, and this should at least help in some way, fundraising, or that's the idea, just to get more publicity out there.
Bring it on.
All right, we'll go to the public. Ms. Celeberto.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. Shouldn't this sign be on our current library so people can see it? Who is going to see it? You know, in the middle of the Pier Marketplace over there. You want people who are driving by to see it, don't you? I mean, I'm just, it's a common sense thing, I'm thinking. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. What's that?
We could do both.
Two signs?
Two signs. Yeah.
All right, if there's no other discussion, we'll take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved 5-0. All right.
Banging all this up.
So we'll go to number 5, under new business, from the engineering department, is a motion to approve the Kinney Avenue Water Department Maintenance Garage Roofing and Siding to be completed by Abcor Restoration Company Incorporated in the amount of $45,860. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right, motion by Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Ms. Trzynski. So the description, I think, is pretty clear. Does anyone have any questions or comments, or anyone want to hear from John?
Nope.
Everyone good? Okay.
Good.
Any questions or comments from the public? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. Number 6, under Community Development Department, is a motion to discuss the replacement and extension of a dock located at 1201 Succotash Road and authorize staff to write a letter of objection to CRMC requesting a public hearing. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, second by Counselor Murray. We're going to have Mr. DeLuca come up and give a little bit more explanation on this one. Thank you, Mike.
Actually, Council President, I think I'd like to defer the commentary to one member of our Harbor Management Commission and the town's harbor master, and my staff, Jill Sabo of my staff, if she would like to speak.
Okay, sounds good.
We've got a couple of graphics we can put up the screen.
Perfect.
I'll be the AV boy.
Thanks. Thank you, Jill.
Hi, good evening. So what you have before you tonight is an authorization, request for authorization to write a letter of objection for a dock replacement and extension. Just as a bit of background, the Harbor Management Commission receives public notices, just as anyone on the listserv does, for all dock applications. The Harbor Management Commission is not the approving body. The application actually goes to CRMC for approval, and we receive that notice. Like we do every month, we receive these notices, and most often the Harbor Management Commission receives and places on file. In this case, the commission objected to the dock. They had some strong objections. The harbor master brought up some information that might not have been to light beforehand, and they made a motion at their board, at their meeting, to ask this council to formally recommend or formally object to CRMC, because they are the recommending body to you folks. The letter that was provided to you outlines the concerns that the commission has, and specifically the harbor master, with the location of this dock extension in relationship to the navigational waters, in relationship to the channel. Specifically, the channel shoal is moved, the Coast Guard has moved the Nun number 4, and the harbor master is here if you'd like to hear from him on that. But I feel like the letter sort of outlines all of the concerns that we have. If you have any technical questions, both the harbor master and the vice chairman of the commission are here for you today.
All right. Thank you, Jill. Do you guys want to?
I got a couple questions.
Sure.
Do you have an overview of the harbor area?
Yes, we do.
There we go, okay. Can we see the subject dock? So I guess the yellow is the guy wants the extension?
The yellow is the property associated with the dock. The property, just for reference, the property is actually zoned commercial, but it's a pre-existing non-conforming use, so it is a residential use.
Right. So which one wants the dock? The one in the yellow?
The one in the yellow, so the dock that looks like a T-dock now would extend an additional 46 feet out,
How many feet?
46.
about
yeah.
46.
Be like halfway up.
And the T shape would change. It would go, I believe it's a floating dock now, go to a fixed pier, and then it would have like an L leg about midway through. I think we have there we go, we have a visual
Do
of
you have
that.
an overview with the extension?
Yep, it's right there, so you can
No,
see what's.
I mean, an overview with the extension.
No, unfortunately, our GS was not
Do you have
working.
the channel marked, do you have one with the channel marked out?
We do.
No, not that. I mean, something with an overview that you can actually see, like black lines. And then the
We
extension.
do have the 2021 where you can see the shoaling, and we outlined the distance to the marker in the letter that we
Right,
provided to you.
All right, I know, but I like, something like this, I need a visual. Now, I see the black streak that's parallel to the shore. Is that the actual channel right there?
I'm going to defer to the harbor master on that.
Okay.
Can I ask a
Because
question,
if I
Joe?
remember, it's the end of the state pier, you can pretty much stay outside those docks when I'm in there, but I got a small boat, so.
You said 46 feet, and is it for 4 additional boats for a particular reason? Is that what it's for, 4 additional boats to go on the dock?
So the application, I believe the applicant is stating that they would like to put 4 boats at that dock. It is a fixed pier dock, like we mentioned. Doesn't have a floating dock, so the boats would generally be larger in size. Could you get more than 4? Possibly. I believe residential boating facilities allow no more than 4.
That's not typical practice, right? I mean, 46 feet, 4 additional boats.
I
I'm just
haven't seen
trying
it
to-
before. I'm not going to say it's not, it
But it's
hasn't
not
been done
common,
before.
really, right?
I haven't seen it before. I've been working with the commission for 3 years now. I haven't seen it before.
Thank
Jill,
you.
Technically, for a residential slip, he can go halfway through the channel, right? As long as he's not blocking the channel, but he can go up the halfway point of the channel, correct?
I'm going to defer to the harbor master on that.
All right, where'd he go?
He is here.
Okay.
Does he want to come?
All right, yep. Thanks, Jill.
Thanks, Jill.
So, yeah, Mr. O'Connor, if you don't mind coming up. Thanks for coming here tonight.
Nice to see you.
So anyone who wants to ask a question, now's your time.
Okay, so that 46 feet, how much is that going to be actually inside the channel?
So actually, the channel, as Jill said, shifted.
Right.
So the number 4 none, the second buoy in,
Yep.
was moved 180 feet by the Coast Guard
To the west?
to the southwest, absolutely 100%. So you said you had a boat and you know that channel.
Yeah.
It used to be a straight channel.
Yep.
It's no longer now that, it's a dogleg.
Right.
And that buoy was moved 180 feet southwest, right in front of that dock. So if this came up 2 years ago before it shoaled,
Right.
we would just looked at it and said, fine.
No problem.
But now it has shoaled, and honestly, there's pictures, I don't know which, I can't see which one is which.
Yeah.
But the
You're the
shoaling,
Lone Ranger on that one.
the shoaling has not receded this year.
Right.
And actually looks to be getting worse.
Right.
So it's, I think when they applied for this, they were using data from 2 years ago.
Right.
With the NOAA chart that has changed.
They had a major shift, okay.
And it's not, and the Coast Guard has changed the channel and actually added a lighted buoy because it's so dangerous of a dogleg, and it's such a change. I'd be perfectly happy if they rebuild the dock does need to be rebuilt, but using the same footprint, not coming out 40. So we lost 180 feet of channel one way, and going to lose another 46 the other way.
Right.
It's just, for a public safety point of view, it's crazy, I think.
Right. I just wish, yeah, okay. I can understand that. All right. I just like references, you know what I mean? I mean, the channel, where the new channel is, where the extension, and their relation. I
Yep.
can't make a decision without the proper information. I mean, I'm just being the devil's advocate here, but if you say that channel shifted, I believe you.
I'm saying the
'Cause I have to
buoy,
register my
the federal
boat.
government moved the buoy 180 feet southwest, and the stock's coming out 46 feet
Right,
towards it.
okay.
I don't know what else you want me to say.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Mr. O'Connor? Nope. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go to the public. Any questions or comments from the public? Or not questions, but any comments? Okay. All right, so this is a vote to authorize staff to write a letter of objection. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. And I think we have time for one more before our public hearing. So from Parks and Recreation, we have a motion to approve the purchase and installation of replacement chain link fencing for Sprague Park from Costco Incorporated in the amount of $26,910, utilizing the State of Rhode Island Master Price Agreement. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right. So this comes from Parks and Rec. I know that there was some damage to the existing fence. And this would be actually to replace the entire fencing with all new fencing. So does anyone want to hear from Michelle? Anyone have any questions? You good, Susan?
I'm good, yeah.
Okay.
I'm happy
All right.
about
Any
replacing the
any
fence.
comments from the public? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. Number 8 is a motion to approve the installation. Actually, before we go on, is the stenographer here for the public hearing? All right, so that's going to start in a couple minutes, so. Yeah, okay, great. Do you want to set up here? Yeah, okay, perfect. So why don't we just take a minute,
Yeah. 'cause we
set up
only
for
have-
public hearing, and then we'll go ahead and do that. So we're just going to pause for a minute, and then we'll start the public hearing at 8. All right. Ready to go? Okay, thanks. All right. All right, we're going to start back up. Okay. All right, so it's 8:01. We'll start our public hearings. First is a motion to hold a public hearing on a petition from Warren and Barbara DiClemente and Doug DeSimone for the abandonment of a portion of Sunset Shore Drive.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All right, so the public hearing is open. So we received this petition. It's gone through planning. It came through as a 5-0 unanimous recommendation to abandon the town property. We do have the applicant here. Actually, Mike, do you want to start us off with a little background, and then we'll go to the applicant?
Yeah, and I just make sure the public,
Thanks.
the recommendation from the planning board was conditional, so I just wanted.
Right, yeah, we'll get to that, right. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is not uncommon to have a request for a roadway abandonment where there's a roadway
Excuse me,
end that
Mike.
trails off.
Excuse me, Mike, sorry, could you just state your name for the stenographer and your
My apologies.
position, thanks.
I should know by now, shouldn't I? Michael DeLuca, last name is spelled capital D-E, capital L-U-C-A. I am the Director of the Community Development Department.
Very good.
I'll wait.
No, I want to talk about the public. That's the way I like to do my
okay.
business. I said they'll be at home, like, watching the TV go.
Great. So as I was saying, it's not uncommon to have property owners who live at the end of a otherwise dead-end road request abandonment of the trailing end of a roadway. This particular property is and I have graphics. This particular property is at the end of Sunset Shore Road, which is this road here, coming around, and it ends right about there, kind of a dirt driveway into this property here, which is the DiClemente's property. The roadway, see if I can, whoops, my apologies. Okay. The roadway, this roadway here, these roadways here that you can just vaguely see, were all already abandoned by a previous council at the request of the owner, who was Mr. DeSimone. But this little stretch from right here all the way over to here was still on the books, is still on the books. And it looks like this. Now, you can't see that very well, so I did that. So this is the end of it blown up. Mr. DiClemente's property is right there, and the end is right about there. So they're asking for this little L shape to be abandoned. Mr. DiClemente owns this property here. He owns this property here. He owns this property here. Mr. DeSimone owns this property here. So we have two applicants here. One is DiClemente, the other is DeSimone. DeSimone is requesting this piece. DiClemente is requesting these pieces. And his intent, I believe, I'll go back to the aerial. So Mr. DiClemente owns this big property here, and he owns that. He wants to be able to unite those properties into one single lot, which his intention is to come back to us with an administrative subdivision and merge everything, remove all the lot lines. And I believe the same it would be said for Mr. DeSimone, who would want to. Can't keep my arm straight tonight. Who want to add this little rectangle to the property he owns here. That's the proposal in a nutshell, and I hope I didn't steal Mr. Duhamel's thunder, but that's the background on it.
Great, thank you, Mike. Any questions for Mike?
Yes, sir.
Get a smaller scale? Now, DiClemente owns portion A, B, and C?
D. I don't believe there's a dock extension involved here.
I mean, no picture of that one. And then, D. Simone on Washington State.
Yes, they're seeking to acquire those, this, through abandonment process. They own the lots adjacent, as you had just described.
All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mike. All right, well, why don't we go ahead to the applicant?
Hi, Joe Duhamel, Duhamel, with Dupree Engineering. What Mr. DeLuca said was correct. The applicant is looking to take the single-family home there.
Mr. Duhamel, mind if I swear you in?
Certainly.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And state your name again, please.
Okay.
Thanks.
Joe Duhamel, Duhamel, from Dupree Engineering. Yeah, so everything stated so far is correct. The applicant is looking to merge the three properties, 163, 164, and Lot 234, into one parcel so that he can, upon acceptance of the roadway abandonment, go through the further planning process with Mr. DeLuca's department. I'm not sure any questions particularly you have, or?
Okay, any questions?
So I just had a question. The planning board made a recommendation that those 3 lots have to become one. Is that still the intention? And if this council approved it, that they would merge into one lot and only one home?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll follow up on that. So that was one of the one of the stipulations in the positive recommendation from the planning board. There were 5 stipulations in the recommendation. So when we vote, my intention was that when we call this motion later, if we're going to do it tonight, and we will be clear that any approval is contingent upon follow-through of those stipulations. So I do want to make sure that the applicant is still committed to those 5.
Yes.
Right,
Yes, we
okay.
are, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Mr. DeLuca, you want to come back up?
Yeah.
One qualifier on that, Mr. President. One of the conditions speaks to identifying the owner of the parcel A, or Lot A, proposed Lot A, which is, proposed Lot A is this L-shaped lot. It's called proposed Lot A because it was part of a very recent subdivision. At the time, we were not absolutely certain of who the owner was of that. We thought it was Mr. DeSimone, but we weren't sure if it was an LLC or in his personal name. So that particular condition has been resolved because Mr. DeSimone signed on to the application after we had advertised the hearing.
So
and
number-
after the planning board had already reviewed it. So that's a moot issue.
It is, number 2, so that's completed. Okay, great.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Actually, what we'll do, that's fine. I was just gonna move forward. So what I'm gonna do now is just be clear about those stipulations for the public so that we have it on the record tonight. So these are the stipulations that the planning board recommended as part of their approval, their 5-0 approval. So number 1 was that arrangements be made to provide an access and maintenance easement to the town or appropriate utility carrier to service the existing water main. Number 2 was what Mr. DeLuca just mentioned, the ownership of proposed Lot A be determined to establish who should receive portion C of the abandonment request, or if portion C should not be abandoned. So that's already taken care of. Number 3, that administrative subdivision be drafted and submitted by the applicant for approval by the administrative officer, in which the lots 163, 164, and 234 on Assessor's Plat R2 be merged into one lot, which includes portions A, B, and D. So that's what Susan had mentioned earlier. Number 4, that portion C located at the northern end of the road right away and abuts property of D. Simone or his successor be merged with proposed Lot A via drafting and approval by the administrative officer of an administrative subdivision. And then number 5 is appropriate deeds for each administrative subdivision shall be recorded in the Narragansett Land Evidence Records. So, so those were all recommended from planning, and we're, as a council, all understanding, I think, of those stipulations. And when we do our vote, we can just make sure that the approval is contingent on that. Any questions from the council?
I was just curious with the public access to the water through that property, was there any issues with that?
No, there isn't, Councilwoman. There is a public right-of-way directly adjacent to the DiClemente property right here. And that is not affected by this request at all. I neglected to mention, by the way, for the record, Mr. President, that there is a water main in there. You read, and that with the guidance of the engineering department, we've established that there would be an easement, and I actually have that graphic there. There's the water main. So the right-of-way is going to be cut off right about here, so we'll have to have an easement across that. So just to add clarity.
Okay, great. And you haven't found any issues or run into any roadblocks or anything with any of these stipulations? In terms of, I don't know if you've done any advanced research or anything.
I did speak with the engineering department. They provide us this information here.
Yep.
But with regard to administrative subdivisions, that's already been discussed. And the deeds are a natural follow-up to administrative subdivision for any administrative subdivision.
Okay.
So I believe we've got everything covered.
Great, thank you. All right, why don't we go ahead and see if there's anyone from the public? Ms. Celebrato?
Catherine Celebrato, Celeberto, 48 Earls Court, Narragansett.
All right, and the solicitor will swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
My objection is, as always, if we're going to give public land to a private person, we should charge. Now, someone dug up an old law that says that cities and towns with populations of over 100,000 must charge for land that they deed. And cities and towns with populations under $100,000 can also, or must charge, and there's a list of the cities and towns. And for some reason, that's been interpreted as we can't charge. I don't know how that's happened, but there's nothing in the law that says that we cannot charge people if we convey public land to them. So, I mean, I'm pretty consistent with my objection here. I didn't want to give the church that strip of land without them paying. And it's just, I don't think people in this town really want you giving public land to people absent payment. Land is worth quite a bit of money. Now, the access, as long as there is parking there, and it's not going to be blocked in some way, maybe they don't want people going down there and using the access, so they would have to, I don't know, has anybody made a site visit? There would have to be some kind of assurance that people could actually access that right of way. So there could be no parking, like no parking signs or anything. But really, it's payment. It's payment. I think that if we're going to give town-owned land to people, it has a value, and they should pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll comment on that. I mean, I agree with you. I think that if the town could charge, I think that would be the right thing to do. I know at the planning board meetings, the solicitor, our assistant solicitor, Stephen Marcella, has commented publicly that without enabling regulation at the state level, we're actually not able to, that we're unable to charge even if we wanted to. James, are you aware of that?
I think he's right. I think that's accurate. If that would be a change, I think that's something you have to bring the legislature through your representatives, and they could probably make that happen, I would think.
Right. And we'd have to go through that process beforehand. And then, of course, we have our local ballot question that Mr. Vangamesh spoke on tonight. So we have basically 2 layers that are kind of stopping us at this time from charging. You could come back up, though.
Well, as I've commented in the past, it's a simple bill that would have to be passed. One of our reps could do it. when the General Assembly reconvenes, just add our name to the list of cities and towns that can charge. And that's why I've asked you to table these kind of motions in the past.
Thank you. All right, anyone else from the public? Dr. Alba?
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett.
Dr. Alba,
We're going to
please,
have James.
do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, based on past practice, as the president says, if that's, what the town, if that's the policy in place, and, we've got to abide in that policy. But Catherine does have a valid point. If we can get monies for these lands instead of just giving them away, we should explore that. Also, she also had a valid point with respect to, and what the councilwoman mentioned, Dr. Ewa, she mentioned regards to the public access way, that we want to make sure that, once we make these adjustments, that the parking that's available for the public access and whatnot is not taken away. I think that's an important concern. Okay, so thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Anyone else from the public interested in speaking? Okay, does it look like it? All right, any other?
Yeah, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
So what's the estimated value of that land that's looking to be abandoned? Is there a way to determine that? And obviously, in the future, if it's abandoned and part of that piece of land, then it'd be taxed on, correct?
Well, right now, the only one that has any value to is Di Clementi and Di Simone, thank you. All right, sitting back there. So value is kind of hard to determine, I believe, because it's not, if you take any one of those standalone lots, that you can't build on it, you can't, do anything with it, so. Does it have any value alone? I mean, that's the question. And I got a question. Mike, is there any parking down there at the end of Sunset where that easement is? There is no parking down there, right?
No, Mr. Murray, I don't believe there's any public parking down there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about whether or not Sunset Shore Road is prohibited to parking on street. We could look that up, but I don't believe there's any parking there. The access way I pointed out is one that I believe the local neighborhood uses,
Yeah,
people in the local
exactly,
neighborhood use
exactly.
on foot.
Right.
But to answer Councilman Jazinski's question, other communities that have that allowance, typically, I think all of them require an appraisal to be done of the value of the land before it's sold, and the town has to accept the appraisal. So,
Thanks, Mike. All right, any other comments before we move on?
No, I just want to agree with Catherine and you as far as the abandonment. We don't have it in the ordinance right now, but that's definitely something I think we can look at for the future to assess the value of it today. It's hard to tell, right? So most of the time, it's not great property. It's a dead end. It's not really usable. So I hate to say it's junk property, but it's not really valuable at this point. So I completely support the abandonment.
Okay, thank you. All right, so why don't we move on to the motion to receive the planning board's recommendation? I think it's pretty straightforward. All right, do we have a motion to receive the planning board's recommendation?
I'll make that recommendation to receive the recommendation of the planning board.
I'll second.
All right, anyone from the public wishing to speak on this? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved, 5-0. And do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. And then that brings us to a motion to approve or reject the road
I'll
abandonment.
make a motion to approve the abandonment of the road for the property.
All right, is there a
Make a
second?
motion to approve the abandonment
Is there a second?
based on the recommendations of the planning board.
With those conditions,
Yeah,
Yes, with conditions that the planning board recommended.
Okay.
You want a second? No, I got a second.
Is there a second? I'll second.
Yeah, I could second that.
All right. You want to second it?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Counselor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Patrick. So the motion is to approve with all recommendations from the planning board, all stipulations, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
No?
Nay, yeah.
Okay, motion approved 4-1. All right, next we have all right, so this is a motion, we have a motion on here that we advertised for, thank you, for the application on 901 Ocean Road Holdings. That application has been withdrawn by the applicant, so we're not going to open that tonight. However, we are going to make a motion to accept the withdrawal of the application by the applicant.
I'll make a motion to accept the withdrawal of the application in this, at 901 Ocean Road.
Okay, is there a second? All right,
I would ask you to place the letter received by Attorney John Kenyon on file for that purpose as well, the withdrawal letter.
All right, Susan, can you restate that motion?
So to accept the withdrawal of the application on 901 Ocean Road and
Place
place it on file.
Place the withdrawal letter on file.
Yep, with the withdrawal letter on file.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right,
have a
any
question.
discussion?
Yes.
All right,
From-
we'll go to the public
yeah.
after. Go ahead.
So when I was reviewing this, the recommendation, well, actually, the letter sent to us, because I'm not an attorney, so I was just curious, when it says, "My client is withdrawing the request for the zoning ordinance amendment without prejudice." I'm going to ask James, what does that imply, and why is that in there?
Theoretically, they could bring this back at some point, but they can do that with or without prejudice.
But what does that mean?
I mean, it means if you make a decision, they can't, in a zoning case, say at the zoning board, if you get denied, you can't come back within a year. The zoning ordinance text amendments don't have really that same provision. So I think he's just saying without prejudice, I mean, if they decide to come back at some point, they can. But even if you voted them down, they could do the same thing. So it's not like it does anything to prevent them from coming back at some point.
So if we had voted on it now, and then say it was denied, then they would still be able to come back, and then even if this is accepted without prejudice, they're still able to come back, so it doesn't really matter, it's just
Right.
the
They'll have to-
method.
They'll have to go through the whole process again. Planning
Okay.
board, send the application in, get it through planning, go to the planning board recommendation, come back to you for approval. So whatever they do, it's going to be a repeat of what they've done before, and obviously that didn't go as they planned, so I think they, for whatever reason, they withdrew. But they're not going to come back here and put this back on the agenda before you without going through the process again. Like starting over.
Right. Okay, thank you, James. Okay, anyone else from the council?
I'm just glad he withdrew.
You're good, Patrick?
I'm good.
Okay, why don't we go to the public? Ms. Salaberto?
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. The term without prejudice is usually a term that's used in court proceedings, alternately with prejudice. Without prejudice, sometimes people file lawsuits and they decide they don't want to go forward right now, so they withdraw it. And if it's withdrawn without prejudice, they can proceed on exactly the same grounds that they did in the past. And this is what concerns me with this insertion of this term into his withdrawal. I'm concerned that he could come back before, right here, for a public hearing, regardless of any changes we happen to have in our ordinances. I feel by inserting this phrase, it kind of freezes him in time. The town could pass an ordinance banning extended stay hotels, and yet I'm concerned that he's trying to preserve his right to go forward with this 901 Ocean Road. Because I've never seen this phrase, inserted in a withdrawal like this before a town council. Isn't this, well, this is something that's used in a court of law frequently. So I would, of course, we're glad that he's withdrawing his application, but I just think that without prejudice should be stricken just under abundance of caution, because as I said, I'm afraid that, if we changed our ordinances, he would argue that he can go forward as he, go forward at this level when he's already gone through those levels. I'm just concerned about this. I like John Kenyon, and we use him all the time. He's a great attorney, and I'm just concerned about this insertion of without prejudice in this. I'd rather just see a clean withdrawal. Thank you.
They've withdrawn it, the application withdrawn, whether it's with or without prejudice, it's withdrawn, and it's off your calendar, and it's not coming back unless they reapply in full. And, this discussion, it's not a public hearing. We're not engaging in a public hearing. We have the stenographer here because it was scheduled for that purpose, but I think it's best to withdraw it and move on.
Right, and James, as far as you know, there's no way an applicant could grandfather themselves in with, to be exempt from any new laws that we pass in a year or two because they put the word prejudice in their letter.
No, they can't shadow this thing for the next 2 years. It's withdrawn, they've
Right.
withdrawn, that's their, if, theoretically, you could have the public hearing, deny it, and close the public hearing and move on, but that's not necessary because it's withdrawn, it's gone.
Right.
If they didn't, the planning board made the recommendation, which was a negative recommendation, which by process, it goes forward to you, but the applicant can withdraw it at any time.
Okay.
Even almost mid-hearing.
I was there, yeah.
I was there too. He's not coming back. I don't think.
Okay, all right.
Maybe he's looking for a friendlier council.
But the applicant could always put a new application in anyway.
That's
right.
right.
It's an open
You change
process.
one word, and it's if they needed to, it could be a totally new application.
Exactly, if they wanted to, they could have the hearing tonight and then appeal it if you denied it. That's a better move than doing this, so they have to go through all the process again.
Right, and we're working with the letter that was sent, so we can't strike anything. It's his letter. They wrote it with that word. We either accept it or not, the withdrawal. Okay. All right, anyone else from the public? Okay. Any other concerns or questions from the council? No? All right, so all in favor for accepting the withdrawal?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion approved 5-0. Okay, why don't we take a quick break? Let the stenographer go. Good, okay. Thank you. Thank you. It'll just be 1 minute. Is this working? Okay. All right, so we'll continue. We are on number 8, which is from the Parks and Recreation Department. Number 8 is a motion to approve the installation of security cameras at the Narragansett Community Center to be completed by Lantell Communications Incorporated in the amount of $9,001. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so this comes from Parks and Rec. The description is, it's in the summary where the cameras would be placed. Reasoning, does anyone have any questions for Michelle? Or for Chief Corrigan or the town manager, as it's kind of security related?
Why are we buying cameras for the community center? Especially $9,000.
Good evening. So as everybody knows, about a year and a half ago, We had a horrific fatality at the community center. There were no witnesses to the incident other than the truck driver. So that started the plan for security cameras at the community center. Additionally, there was previous discussion regarding cameras because of the money that we spent on the envelope of the building and making the building look the way it does today. The third reasoning is that, as you all are aware, we have many nighttime activities that occur at the center where our full-time staff, in particular Karen Flint, is not on the scene. People are given a code to access the building, and again, sometimes the meetings go till 10, maybe 11 o'clock at night. So again, for security reasons, for the things that I just mentioned, accident investigation, potential vandalism situations that need to be investigated, and the overall safety of the patrons that come to the community center, especially those activities and patrons that come after hours. Also, I should note that this money, this $9,001, is being funded through a grant program as well. So hopefully that'll help with your decision.
Yeah, I just not a big camera fan. I don't like government, you know, I didn't support the aerial camera team. I didn't support the stoplight cameras. I mean, my head looks 10 pounds bigger on television, so. So what happened, a year and a half ago, that incident, as one of our guys backed over that.
It was one of the company trucks from Narragansett Rubbish.
Right.
The truck driver was backing up to the dumpster,
Right.
and unfortunately, the female victim,
In the way.
yes, she was just walking, you know, to her car from playing, I believe, bingo, and was struck.
That's a 1 in a million shot there.
So for liability reasons, again, I offer that scenario to you, as well as we do have an older population that comes to that building. And again, for liability reasons and also safety reasons. Again, it is helpful for these types of investigations. Hopefully, we will never see a horrific accident like that. But any type of trip and falls or any motor vehicle accidents, and again, the safety in the evening hours of people coming and going from that building when we don't have full-time staff on.
Chief, do you have any incidents of crime wave at the community center? I mean, I don't know. All right. Anybody with any questions?
I don't have any questions. Do anyone have questions for Michelle?
I actually think it's a good idea. I know it's used a lot. I know the seniors go there, and as well as young people. The Lions use it for many activities. I think it's great. We have cameras at the beach. I think it's important, and I think it provides another level of safety, so I'm good with it. And it's a grant as well, so we're not paying it. It comes out of a grant, so.
Additionally, we do have the YMCA before and after program at the school as well. So again, another thing just to mention for importance and safety.
Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome.
I'll make a comment on this. Every time I agree with Councilor Murray, I have to
Better explain yourself.
think a little bit more about my decision. But this is one of those cases, you know, him and I think, agree on this generally. I understand the reasoning for it. I think if you are managing a facility, or if you're in, you know, law enforcement, really anything where you're kind of serving the public in that way, you would want this for liability and for many other reasons. So I understand why you're requesting it. But I do have concerns about over surveillance of public spaces in general. And it's easy to approve these on a one-time basis. You do one building, a couple years later you do another building, another area. And then you do eventually have literally the entire public space covered
We're
in.
gonna be Trafalgar Square in London then.
It is, and it's more of a philosophical thing, I guess. But for me, I don't want to be necessarily the person to make that approval because I disagree with it philosophically. So, and there's no cases of vandalism in that area. And I think you can make the same argument for cameras anywhere if you're going to make the argument. So, but I'm just against too much surveillance. So,
Maybe we take that grant money and use it on the fence.
anyways, that's my position, but that's just me. Anyone else?
I'm just curious if we, excuse me, if we need all four of them. That would be, I understand one out, certainly in the front. I think there, let me see, there'll be one views the front main lot, then the viewing of the back lot. I mean, I'm not even sure I know what the back lot is, because there's the side entrance lot that goes back. And then the front entrance parking lot area. I mean, maybe we only need two of them, or one, just in the front where the vast majority of people park, not necessarily four.
Okay. Yeah, and of course, if anyone wanted to amend this, you can always do that. Yep.
So I just want to comment and say that even though the scope of the work is a surveillance camera system, it's certainly nothing that's going to be monitored by myself or I believe Mr. Holland, like on a day-by-day basis or a minute-by-minute. It's not like we're going to be in our office and have this multiplex screen up and watching everybody's move. It's certainly, I know in my position, I'm quite busy, and I certainly know that Mr. Holland is extremely busy. So it's something that would strictly only be used in the instance where we did have a motor vehicle accident, there was a slip and fall of some sort, or there was a break-in or vandalism. Again, nobody's going to be watching everybody's move. Again, it would just be if we had an incident, we would have the opportunity to pull up the cameras and look to see exactly what happened in hopes of assisting the chief with any follow-up investigation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I understand. All right, we'll go to the public. Ms. Celeberto?
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Earls Court. I am philosophically also opposed to this constant monitoring. Is there some way we can erase the tape after, say, 24 hours so it's not as bad? It doesn't stay, on tape forever and ever and ever. And the next thing you know, like 10 years from now, you're on YouTube, with your hair like this. Is there some way that you can just use this for short-term basis without retaining it forever?
Thank you. Dr. Alba?
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. I'm for this. I'm supportive of it. The reality is we're in a very litigious society. You see these commercials all the time, 7777777, call us up. We have an elderly population that's going there. We have inclement weather. Plus, not only from a litigious standpoint, but God forbid if someone does get hurt and we have to get someone sent out there. I think with the population who's going to be frequenting there, and we're spending good monies on this building. Just at the same time, it's more St. Veronica's. We have cameras on all of our statues now. The reality is, I think, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We got the grant money. And Catherine, we're all on TV many times with YouTube, so every time we come up here, so it's the nature, of this day and age. So I'm supportive of it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Catazano? Or, I didn't pronounce that right.
Catanzaro.
Do I have to do it?
It's just your full name and address.
Ron Catanzaro, 17 Atlantic Ave. I'm with you and Patrick. Surveillance state, nanny state is out of control, so I totally agree with you guys that we don't necessarily need it. I don't know a single person. I have a 5-year-old niece that has a telephone. I have an 83-year-old father who has a telephone. Who doesn't have a phone in their pocket if they need help at the community center, they can't call 911 instantly, right? 911 is 3 minutes down the street from the community center. So I'm with you. It just too much surveillance, too much nanny state. Maybe Catherine's idea is good. Maybe it's abandoned after 24 hours. The police chief knows he can go get the tape if he needs it, but it's just more data. For what reason? You know what I mean? So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, why don't we just finish up discussion by the council? Eva or anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just comment. So one of my favorite shows is Law and Order. I'm a big Law and Order fan, so I watch a lot of that. So I believe in the safety and the security and for the liability issue of it, so I would support this.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we can either vote as is, or if anyone wanted to make an amendment on the amount of cameras or anything like that, we could do that if there's a desire. Okay, we'll keep it as is. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No?
Aye.
All right, motion passes 3-2, I believe. Okay. All right, we are on to number 9. From Public Works is a motion to approve the filling of the position of laborer in Highway Division due to a transfer. Do
I'll
we have a
move the motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Anyone from the public? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. Number 10 is a motion to approve a petition from National Grid and Verizon New England to install new pole 5, a jointly owned pole with sustaining and protecting fixtures to provide service to a new residence on Brooklyn Road.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion? Questions? Okay, anyone from the public? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. Number 11 is a motion to approve a petition from National Grid and Verizon New England to install new poles 3 and 4, jointly owned poles with sustaining and protecting fixtures to provide service to a new residence on Brooklyn Road. So these are different poles. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right, discussion. Anyone from the public? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. Number 12 is a motion to authorize the purchase of auto and truck parts with related auto and truck equipment, accessories, supplies, and services from Genuine Parts Company, AKA Napa, at their quoted prices pursuant to the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract for the period ending May 19, 2025.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion? Anyone from the public? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. Number 13, under Town Council, is a motion to reschedule the time for the manager's annual review, scheduled for November 1st, 2021, to 6:30 PM prior to Town Council meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, this comes from Councilors Cicilline, Bonanno, and Kopech.
So this is back on because when we scheduled, the manager wanted to do it on November 1st, so we decided that. And then we were having a discussion, during the meeting, before the meeting, and I think the solicitor originally said during the meeting. But in hindsight, I was just wondering, and I think Deb Kopech as well, why can't we have it before the meeting so then we can do the business as well, so we're not interfering with the regular meeting work? So I didn't know if there was an appetite to do that or not.
But that is part of the business of the council, was evaluating him, and I think it's a good idea to do it during the regular meeting, for him to be able to speak to his accomplishments and in a public forum, and I think more people would see that and tune into that, and that was the request of Jim, and I think we should honor that. Additionally, I have a conflict from 6 to 7, so I wouldn't be able to make that if it was changed to 6:30.
So we're going to do it public anyway, right? It's a public evaluation, so we've already decided that, right? So it's just a conflict for
But
you.
what is it? Yeah, it's a conflict, and what's the difference whether we do it at 6:30 versus
Well, I
our
was
regular?
just thinking we could do some other business, I don't know. I thought we could get some other work done.
At 6:30?
before. No, we would evaluate him at 6:30 so we could do the regular meeting at 7:30.
Now you don't want to use cameras?
No, but the meetings, I mean, it's still, I mean, we've had marathon meetings where they went through to 12:30. I mean, every single meeting we've had when we were on Zoom was pretty much going till 12:30. I can't see this really going that much longer, so.
It's really not a big deal if you have a conflict. It's public. We did say November 1st. We did honor that date. I threw it on with Deb Kopek to see if there was a appetite and if there was a desire to do it at 6:30.
I'm good with a regular meeting to have Jim vet it again, re-vet it.
All right. I like the 6:30, actually. You know, when we had the discussion, first of all, that discussion kind of caught me off guard in general when we were doing it. I was expecting just our typical executive session where we do the manager's evaluation, just like we did it with the last council. It's obviously Jim's prerogative to do it publicly, so that's fine. However, we do schedule the time. And there was a little bit of confusion, I think, during the meeting about whether it had to be during the regular meeting. We could schedule a special meeting right ahead of it. And I never understood why it had to be during the regular meeting. And the only reason I don't prefer that is because if we get it done at 6:30, and we start our regular meeting at 7:30, and we have less business to take care of so we can finish at a decent time, I don't really see any reason why we wouldn't want to start early. Still public, anybody can come here, it'll still be televised. It's exactly the same thing, it's just starting earlier so that we don't go as late as we could go. And if there's no requirement where it needs to be at 7:30, then let's just do it earlier.
Yeah, maybe we switch.
So I like the 6:30, so that's me.
But Abby can't do that, so maybe we switch the date so we can do it at 6:30 another day. What do you think?
Jim, what's your preference? Do you have a preference, Jim?
I do. It was the last meeting I did ask for a public forum during the regularly scheduled town council meeting.
Right.
Was my request and what was voted on by
Right.
the council. And my request, the reason I asked for that is, it is, I think when the town council is evaluating the performance of the town CEO, the most heavily attended meetings are usually the regular scheduled
Right.
meetings that are held at 7:30, except of course, when you have a beach meeting or something like that. And I just thought that would be the best way to do it. And
Right.
and it's council business. I mean,
Sure.
it's town
Well,
business.
full exposure.
Thank you.
With cameras.
With cameras.
All right, any other comments before we go to the public? All right, Stanley?
The public's not going to comment, though, on the evaluation, right? Yeah.
Stan Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Road. I think we should have it at 7:30 because people don't tune in. They think the meeting started at 7:30. So you're going to have fewer people tuning in at 6:30. You know, either they'll forget, they don't remember, but you'll get the maximum coverage so we can, everyone can see. It'll be restricted unless if it's 6:30. For 7:30, for sure, everybody will get to see what he's done and appreciate it. So I really, really beg you to do the 7:30. I mean, we've been here for 11 o'clock many days. I mean, I think this is an important one. I'd like to do it.
Thank you.
And Eva can't be here, so, I mean, we might stop the conversation. We can't do it at 6:30 because she's not going to be here anyway. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, it was an option, but we want the full council here.
Do you want to do a different date, or do you want to just stick with what we
It's
have?
the pleasure of the
He
council.
wanted a
Jim
date of the
specifically asked
first.
for that date.
What's that?
I said Jim specifically asked for that date, so I think we have to do it.
Yeah, he asked for
Okay.
November 1st.
So do you want
we
to
did-
just withdraw this?
Yeah, because if Eva can't be here, we can't do it anyway,
Okay.
strategically. Quite,
Susan,
you
you
know
have
what I
to
mean?
withdraw.
So I'll make a motion to withdraw it.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Number 14, a motion to direct the Park and Recreation Director and the Police Chief to provide the Town Council with a safety plan for the postseason during September weekends on the town beach and parking lots. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, this comes from Councilor
Yep.
Cicilline Bonanno.
So I brought this back again and thoughtfully listened to my colleagues and direct the police chief and the park and rec director to come up with a safety plan and bring it back for postseason. So, so I don't want to be a micromanager, but I want you guys to come up with a plan, and I hope the council will pass this, about the weekends in September and maybe even October. Again, we've talked about public safety. We've had some issues on the beach, preseason, postseason, during the season. And I'm not a big, police everywhere, but I do think that we do need to pay close attention to those parking lots, to the people all around the beach, to the beautiful weather. And as the season is getting nicer and nicer, longer and longer, it just seems to be really busy. And I myself have seen a lot of activity post and pre-season down at the Narragansett Town Beach, and I just will leave it up to the professionals that know public safety, but I definitely think we need to have a good plan for the weekends on the beautiful days.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from the council?
Shouldn't we be direct on the town manager to direct, and then in cooperation with the, I don't think we can direct
No, we
to
can't.
the
Yeah,
police
we
chief
direct-
and the
Yeah.
Parks
Say
and
that again?
Recs.
I don't know. I think we've done it different ways throughout this term. James, do you have any
I got
opinion
in
on
trouble
that?
for that.
I think what Patrick says makes sense. That makes,
Direct the town manager to direct?
I think
Okay.
that probably
Well,
works
you
better.
can
Yeah,
amend
yeah.
this then. All right, other than that, anything else? All right,
So amend the motion to direct the town manager to meet with the police chief and the park and rec director and come up with a cohesive safety plan for the town beach on the weekends in September.
okay.
Postseason.
I mean,
Second.
it's just
All right.
the town manager and then.
Um,
Town manager, yeah.
Stanley.
Dan Wojciechowski, 1044 again. Yes, in his report, I hope we include the cost. We're going to have additional costs for all this extra police. And I know Pat mentioned, we got the police 1 block away. I'm not too sure we need extra people on walking around there. But if that's what they come up with, I want to include the cost so that the beach fees can be increased to cover the cost. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Dr. Al Albert, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. Yeah, so this is above my pay grade. I think let the police chief and Michelle, Parks and Recreation Director, examine if we do need police presence there. Stan did bring out a good point. It was brought up earlier, people do have cell phones, and, 911, it's not as though the police department's far distance away from there. So, if there is a significant cost, we have to do a balancing act, if it's worth that expense versus, we know sometimes time is of the essence, but, we had a couple of isolated instances. It's not like we've had many issues at Narragansett Beach. It's a beautiful beach. People love it. They get there early in the springtime, and then we have the Indian summer days. But I haven't really seen, aside from, I guess that one fight that was there, which, that could happen anywhere, for that matter. I just think, let the police chief and our Parks and Recreation Director, examine, think about it, and let them decide if it's worth our while to pursue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All right, so, so this would be requesting basically a plan and a report that would need to be approved by the council. Right, okay. All right, all in favor?
So we're going to
Oh,
make a
sorry,
motion.
sorry.
Can I make the motion to amend it a certain way? That the town council direct the town manager, he's also the commissioner of public safety, so with a safety, to provide a safety plan for the postseason during September weekends on the town beach and parking lots. The safety plan will be provided to the town council and the public at a future meeting.
So we're going to amend the amendment.
Yes. Well, the amendment, no,
The town
Direct the
manager?
town manager to direct the.
no, we don't, so you just direct the
Right,
town manager.
Town
and then
manager, right, right,
kind of figures out, obviously,
right.
Just the town manager.
yeah.
That's the town-
As he
That
sees
makes
fit.
the most sense.
Second?
Okay,
Could make it much simpler.
yeah,
Just
that's
say to
fine.
direct the town manager.
Right.
All right, so,
To provide the town council with a safety plan for the postseason
I
during
know
September weekend.
somebody needs to
And I'll
direct the town
second that.
council.
good, okay.
Yeah, that's good. I'll second that.
Want me to do that one
Yeah,
again?
do it again. Please.
That the town council direct the town manager to provide the town council with a safety plan for the postseason during September weekends on the town beach and the parking lots.
Thank you, Deb. Second that.
All right, so on the amendment, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Do we have to vote on the original one, like to, because defeat, say no?
I don't know, do we have to vote on the original motion, or?
No, if it's amended, that's
Right,
fine.
that's good, okay. Okay, number 15. A motion to approve the request for inquiry and file a comment to the U.S. Census Bureau about the 2020 census data by participating in the count question resolution. Is there a
I'll move
motion?
the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, another one from Counselor
Yes,
Cicilline
so this
Banana.
was like a civics lesson from Langevin office. But there was a lot of conversation about the census in Narragansett. It was impacted drastically, and I've been working with the congressman's office to see if there's a resolution, if we can do anything. And at the end of the day, I don't think we really can. If the count is incorrect or not quite accurate, there's a process that you can go through. We missed September was comment, and then December you can file. But there isn't really a resolution because it's done every 10 years, and it's really hard to dial the clock back. But I've been working with Mike DeAngelis in his office, and he's been helping me with the Census Bureau in Washington just to try to figure out, you know, what the count means and if it impacts the state or the town with funding for education or infrastructure. And I'm not sure it really does. I think actually the state regulations, the formulas for funding are different than the census. But I've been working with him, and he's been a great help. And we could file a resolution count if we wanted to. But I think it's been a learning experience for me working with the census, and I defer to you guys. It certainly has been an interesting data collection for Narragansett, and I just wanted to bring it to the forefront. There was a lot of discussion that it wasn't accurate and because of the COVID and because the university was closed and students went home. So I don't even know if you can dial it back 10 years from now, but so I just wanted to bring it to your attention. It's been in the media, and I don't care if we withdraw it. I do want to talk to you guys about it because I think it's great that they came up with an opportunity across the country to look at the census and to dissect what the numbers mean and how it impacts your community or city. So again, this is not anything I'm going to die on the sword about, but I certainly think it's an important conversation, and maybe we can't do anything.
But we missed all the deadlines, so there's nothing, like, we can't.
There's
There
a
is.
process, but it's,
There's actually two reasons why you can do this, but neither of them, I think, are valid in our case. One is that if you have a boundary dispute, you can appeal, and the other is if you have a situation where you think that the count is incorrect. And I actually attended the redistricting meeting that was held by the General Assembly down at URI last week, and or 2 weeks, no, last week it was. And just so people know, the reason why it's important that our count is right is because it does define what our district is going to be, what numbers we have in our General Assembly districts for representative and for state senate. It doesn't really have much impact on what happens in terms of funding from the federal government, which is what impacts the congressional delegation. So we can't, we definitely lost, partially, at least for one reason, we lost population because we did not have the ability to utilize the URI students who live here. Because the way that the census works is that if you're living in a certain place at a certain time, usually it's by April 1st of a given census year, that's where you're counted, is where you live. It doesn't matter, nothing else matters, that's what matters. But it doesn't, and it does have an impact on why we lost, 8.2% of our population. It's not the only reason, but it is a reason. So the fact of the matter is that I don't think, our district, the numbers in Narragansett with relation to our General Assembly districts are not high enough to make much of a difference anyway. So I think that this is an interesting exercise, but I don't think there's anything that the town can do or the town manager can do to appeal this.
I just have one question. Do we have to direct the town manager to do anything?
We do not, I don't think.
all
I
right.
think, well, that was Susan's idea,
Okay.
but I think that we probably, there's nothing he can do.
I think
from
he's a
what
pretty
from what
busy
I
guy
read.
right now.
Yeah.
I do have one question, actually, for Community Development Director. Mike, if you don't mind. Thank you. I know you've kind of looked into this a bit. I've read a quote from you in the paper, actually.
I demand a recount.
Can we get I just want a little expert opinion from you on if there is any path to take by the town.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe there is. And I was dismayed at the 8.4% decline because, as you all might think, I do believe that the circumstances of the COVID lockdown and URI closing the campus, I think had a huge impact on our counted population. So, and I really do believe that's the majority of it. So I contacted the Census Bureau staff that I had worked with. I and my staff had worked with the Census Bureau staff in the run-up to the census, February, March of 2020. And we were doing promotion. We were helping them out with flyers and contact with real estate agents to get them connected to the college kids who live down the line, as you might guess. But we really were dismayed when the lockdown occurred prior to April 1. And also that the Census Bureau delayed sending out the enumerators, the people that go to knock on the doors. That didn't happen until June. So we feel very strongly about it. Anyway, that's the backdrop. I contacted the Census Bureau. They told me about the count question. But I also asked, can we get a recount? And they said in rare instances that can be done. They would conduct it, but it would be at the expense of the community asking. So I'm actually going to be following up with staff at the regional level to find out what that cost factor actually is and if there are any grant funds out there that might be available for us to conduct one.
So does that mean, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, if we're talking about students, the ones that were there on April 1st of 2020 or right straight through the summer when they knew, or even into the fall because they didn't end the census until October 1st. My question then is, it's not going to be the same people if you were
Right.
counting now. So my thought was that there was no way that we could resolve that situation.
They've actually done it in certain instances where there are mitigating circumstances. Certainly, COVID probably had a huge impact on
Right. That's
thousands of
absolutely
communities nationwide. But in this case, I think we're so unique that because we have such a large college population, but we don't have the college, URI provided data to the Census Bureau for all the kids, all the students, I should say, that are housed on campus. They have that information in their data bank. We don't have that. So it puts us in such an odd situation.
But they can't get it from URI? So everyone
They
has to
don't know.
register that
They
they're
don't
off
keep track.
campus? If they're living off campus, they have to put their address, and that's...
That was not offered by the
Okay.
campus staff. I did discuss that with the campus staff in February or March of 2020, but that information was not offered. They felt as though they had to stay away from the down the line, the individuals who live down the line. I'm not sure why.
From a legal standpoint, or was it just because...
I think it's probably a privacy issue.
I'm not sure why.
Be my guess.
So I am going to pursue that and find out And I was hoping to report to you and the town manager at some point in the future as to,
Yes, so,
is this at all feasible?
so if we pass this motion, you could file it for us, right? If we don't pass this, then you can't,
No, they
right?
can still do it.
can.
But we could always put it on the agenda when he comes back.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I want to do the legwork first, but I'm already into it.
So it sounds
Are you
like,
willing to?
all right, so Mike is already doing the work to understand cost and more about the process, and he might even have an understanding of what kind of results we could possibly expect. You know, because if it's going to be, it was off by 200 people, you know, whatever.
Well, according to my numbers, it's 1,280.
Well,
So
he could test it.
Is it reasonable to assume that we did lose 8% because of COVID, because they basically shut the college down for quite some time? So I don't see that number as outrageous.
Well, we have over 2,600 rentals in town.
Right.
Most have over 2 bedrooms.
So Mike's going to come back anyway. He's already doing this anyway.
But
So,
wouldn't you say the
so why don't
population-
we talk about maybe just with, what do you think?
Or just table it and then you can come
I
back.
got a question. We got 16,000 residents, year-round residents, correct? And that's what
Roughly.
That's what they approximately go by? So 8% of that is 1,280, right? So, I mean, I don't know how much money we're gonna, I mean, even if they do agree with us, we're gonna get money back or something?
It's not money. Whatever money we spend on doing a follow-up census would be spent. I don't think we could get reimbursed.
So what benefit do we get out?
Well, there are
arguing this
probably,
8%?
there's a really great fact sheet, I wish I had brought it in tonight, that was provided to my staff and I that enumerated all the federal grant programs that are affected by local population, meaning your grant amount is somehow related to the population in your community. And it's well over 100 different programs. Now, we don't follow through, we don't take part in all of those things,
impossible to
but we do take part in some. So it can pay itself back. And, you know, this isn't something that would be done right away. Even if we could get approved for it and we could find funding to do it and it wasn't ridiculously expensive, then it would probably happen about 2 years from now. And it would be good until 2030. So to answer your question, Ms.
But
Kopak.
it wouldn't change the General Assembly numbers, because they would already have made their decision about.
Well,
redistricting.
yeah, that part of it I didn't consider. I'm more concerned about the funding opportunities and just the accuracy.
Right, which is fine.
So, all right, so come back when you're ready to file.
Well,
All right, so then we can either vote tonight or we can withdraw.
Well, or we can wait until he comes back and then.
Well, for this motion, though, we need to decide what we're going to do.
Do you want to do that? I mean, it's up to you guys.
We should wait to hear what the information
Yeah,
is.
so,
What's your motion?
yeah, I can withdraw it until he comes back.
Okay, let's do that.
It's good, good discussion, appreciate that.
All right, so you're
I'll make a
withdraw-
motion to withdraw it. Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion approved 5-0 to withdraw. Number 17. A motion from the town clerk is a motion to appoint one individual to the Affordable Housing Collaborative Committee. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so this is the committee that we formed earlier this year. 3 of the seats have been appointed. This would be the last one.
Yep, so there are 2 applicants, and I'd like to put Elizabeth Gallagher forward. She's a resident of Narragansett since 1989. She's got a degree in adult ed. She has demonstrated or talked about her willingness to give back, so I think that she would be a great applicant for the board and fill the last seat.
All right.
Second that.
Okay, so that was seconded by Eva. We're going to go ahead and vote because our colleague here has left the room. We're not going to wait for him. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved 4-0 with 1, I guess you call it an abstention. Number 18, a motion to appoint, reappoint 2 individuals to the Narragansett Housing Authority.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'd like to make a motion to reappoint James Ehrig and David Pizzo, is it? The two that presently sit on the Housing Authority for reappointment.
All right, so they would be going into this would be their last term, right? And so the difference here, we actually looked into this. So the reason why this specific committee or commission would still be 5-year terms is because it's dictated by state law, that housing authorities are all 5 years. And that's specified unless a town is named specifically in the state charter, which Narragansett is not. So, and you're giving
Yeah,
a
I'm just-
weird look.
Yeah.
It's just like the planning board, how there's specific
Right.
state regulations. The housing authority has that too. And actually, James or the town clerk could, it might be in here.
So,
Yeah, right.
So are they, every town and municipality, every town and municipality has all their planning boards and zoning boards and housing authorities are for 5 years?
5 years.
And that's nothing that the town could change based on the referendum that was passed?
Right. The difference in this situation is that in the state law that Janet referenced in the motion, in the agenda item, has a specific directive for 5-year terms for housing authorities. I'm not sure why, but it does include other towns like Pawtucket, Central Falls, Providence. They have more members in their boards for some reason, and also different terms of years, but that's specific to each of those cities and towns. Narragansett's not one of those, so I think that it seems like it's reserved for larger municipalities versus.
You mean the 5? Or so I think, I mean, to me, like that, when I really researched that referendum question, it was that the Charter Commission had tried to streamline everything. And in that, the wording in that was that it was going to be 3 2-year terms. And that, to me, that meant everything. And I know that there was some, phrase that was added in, or I don't have it in front of me. But I still think it was very black and white, and that was passed. So I don't think, I mean, these individuals have been on for longer than the 6 years, and I'm still holding true to the fact that I think the motion that we passed last meeting was illegal, and I still think it is the 2 3-year terms. And I was actually, I got, like I have previously stated, I had opinions from 3 other attorneys that had legislative experience that said that it was black and white and that we should be going by the 2012 referendum of 3 2-year terms, and it should have taken effect in 2012. So I'm not going to be voting for it to keep anyone on this board like that's currently on there, so I'm going to abstain from that. And I'm just going to wait to get the opinion from the Attorney General's office, because I did request a clarification on this.
And just for clarity, the pertinent statute says the commissioners who are first appointed shall be designated by the mayor, which is odd because there's no mayor here, to serve terms of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years respectively from the date of appointment. Thereafter, and that follows a sentence behind, the term of office shall be 5 years. So that's why I think the 5 years applies here. That's the only reason. And that's the state law that allows towns to create housing authorities. That's it.
Right, so, we might never agree on this one,
know.
but I think there was 2 things happening. One was when to apply the term limit. That was the one thing, whether we do it prospectively, retroactively, a mix of the 2. That was one disagreement that we had. And then the other part of it is whether all of our boards are going to be 3 years. And the line in the charter amendment that I think is very clear is that it says all to be 3 years unless dictated by state law or something like that. And that's the exception. So when you have something in the state charter that is specific to a board, like planning, zoning, and this one, then that overrides our 3-year. Everything else would be 3 years except for the ones that are specific in state charter. So that's where I think that makes sense.
Okay. So this is the housing authority is a 5-year then?
Yep.
So this would be the reappointments for 2 members, and they would be 5 years. However, they would start from when they last expired. So one person's getting about 2.5 years remaining, and then the other person has like 4 years or something like that. No, this is it. Yep.
That's under what we voted for.
We said if anyone's serving a currently expired term, they would just have one more term.
I just assumed they were there because they're following what we voted for.
Right. So, well, we have the 2 nominations, right?
Yep.
Why don't we go to the public? Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this? All right.
Come on, Kathy, come on.
Shh, no, we're good.
Yeah, come on, just.
All right, so we'll do the 2 appointments at once, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. All right, so motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention. Okay. Last item is number 19, which is a motion to appoint, reappoint 2 individuals to the Conservation Commission Tree Board.
I'll move the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Brian Wagner. McFarland has withdrawn his application, so I'd like to put Polly Peterson up for that position on the Conservation Tree Board.
Okay, so we have a nomination for Brian Wagner, who's the chair, who would be serving his last term, and then Polly Peterson, who would be on her first term.
Yeah, and she's, if you want a little background, she's a resident in Narragansett. She's been here for 15 years. She likes protecting local resources, encouraging the use of beautiful landscape and being healthy and protective, and adding education into that. She has a finance background, major in economics.
Okay, and these would be, just to be clear, these are both 3-year terms.
Yes.
Okay. Because there's no state, specification on anything different. Anyone from the public looking to comment? All right, anyone else on the council? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, motion approved, 5-0. That's it for us. Thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All right.